Hey everybody, welcome back to Polar Opposites. I'm Matt along with Craig from the Thunder Guys. The NBA regular season has come to a conclusion. The Thunder getting the number 6 seed in the West will face the number 3 seed Houston Rockets. First game Sunday evening, prime time, 8 o'clock. Craig, let's start out with some general thoughts. I know we want to talk about playoff matchups. I know we want to talk about the MVP race. But all that set aside for just a second, give me some general thoughts on the season. As a fan, obviously you want to make the playoffs, which you did. You made it by pretty good margin. You're the number 6 seed. What just how do you feel about the season? How do you feel about how it all ended? Oscar Robinson there on the final night. I know you were there in the arena. Share some thoughts.
Well, I thought the Thunder would finish anywhere from the 5 to the 6 spot in the West, which they did. So I think the season as a whole was a success. There's a lot of people. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of people. Some people who are a little disappointed, but I think when you look at what the Thunder were able to do this year without Kevin Durant on the roster, it's pretty incredible. Orlando when they lost Shaquille O'Neal, they didn't have a winning record. Cleveland, they won 15 games when LeBron left, I think. So, the fact that they were able to maintain and still be one of the best teams in the league is a success, in my opinion. As far as the season goes as a whole, it may be my favorite season that I've ever watched of the Thunder, for many reasons. I feel like what Russell Westbrook has done, anyone is impressed with, regardless if you're a fan or not. But just being there, being able to be a part of that, seeing it all happen, having Oscar Robertson there in the arena was awesome. So yeah, honestly, I think it's better than the 2012 finals run that we made, as far as me enjoying the entire season goes.
Okay, when I look at it, one of the things that impresses me because it's been a while since we've had the opportunity to record because of my travel schedule and everything. But one of the things that impressed me the last time we talked, one of the things that I brought up, and we had the wager, which by the way I won,
Yeah.
between the Clippers and the Thunders, who has finished higher. So whenever you're ready, I'll take that free lunch from Vast. But one of the things that I said was this is, and it was one of the things I said. This is why I know the Clippers will finish ahead of the Thunder. And I brought out it was their road record. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
And at that time they were terrible on the road, but they closed out the season pretty strong. You're 19 and 22 on the road. That's only a 3 game swing. It's respectable. I mean, when you're the 6th seed, you're 19 and 22 on the road. You look at Golden State 31 and 10, San Antonio 30 and 11. Those are anomalies. Those are legitimately the two best teams in the West. But then when you start going down, Houston, the team that everyone's saying, "Wow, this is a legit contender team," all of a sudden, they're 6 games up, 9 games. There's 25 and 16 on the road. Clippers, Utah, Oklahoma City, all right there within each other. The Clippers and Utah, 22 and 19, and then Oklahoma City, the inverse of that, 19 and 22. So going into the playoffs, I initially had poor road performance as one of my things that, hey, this is going to be an Achilles heel for this team. I don't feel that way anymore. I still feel like Houston's the better team, but I don't feel like Oklahoma City's going to lose this series based off of their road performance. I don't feel like you can say that anymore about this team.
No, I agree with you. And everyone knows you just got to steal one on the road and then win at home. And I think opening up the series, I think will probably be a loss for the Thunder. But I think where they can get them is in game 2.
So just that the momentum of that opening game in Houston, the crowd's crazy. A fairly, I feel like you can say this playoff wise, a fairly inexperienced team outside of Russell Westbrook, who's been to the finals before. Your other veterans on the team, the guys that helped carry that final, they're gone. There's no Serge Ibaka, there's no Kevin Durant. You're starting over, making a legit playoff run with these guys, and we're going to jump into. Oh, you want to say something?
So yeah, they asked Victor Oladipo the other day what he thought about the playoffs, and he said, I don't know, I've never been before. So, and I also saw that of the teams that are in the playoffs, the Thunder is the youngest team out of the 16. So it's kind of like we're starting over again. Back when the Thunder first started making their playoff runs, they were the youngest team, and it seems like with all the changes made, we're starting back at ground zero basically.
Well, let me throw this at you off script. You know, you have a sprinkling of guys. Obviously Russell Westbrook, the captain of the team, but when you look at the new guys like Taj Gibson has playoff experience. But does it matter that they have playoff experience, or does it matter they have playoff experience together? You know what I'm saying? Like Taj Gibson's been to the playoffs, but he's never been to the playoffs with this team with Russell Westbrook. Is that a big deal?
That's a very good question. I've never looked at it like that before, but I think most importantly would be the team chemistry. If they've got the experience and they have the team chemistry, then I think that's really what makes it all come together.
Okay, so we're going to come back to playoff matchups, and we'll close out talking specifically Thunder and Rockets. But MVP voting, you can go to this MVP vote tracker. Last I checked yesterday, Russell Westbrook had a decided advantage. Thoughts on the MVP?
Last time we spoke, I said James Harden had the MVP. I thought he had it locked up. Just the way the media was swinging it. Everything you saw on SportsCenter was James Harden this, James Harden that. What James Harden was doing and what Russell Westbrook wasn't doing. But I think things really started to swing towards the favor of Russell Westbrook whenever he got that 41st triple-double, which tied the record. And then he had, leading up to that 41st, he had hit a couple game-winning shots, clutch shots. And then he got the 42nd triple-double to set the record. And, they were down by 10 with 2 minutes to go, and he brought them back and hit a buzzer beater. And I think that's ultimately what gave it to him, or what is going to give it to him. But have you seen their clutch minute stats?
No.
I'll see if I can pull it up real quick. I think Royce Young is who.
Well, here while you're looking at that, here's where we've got right now on the vote. Westbrook right now, there's 43 votes that have been turned in, 43 out of 100. Right now, Westbrook has 29 first place votes. Some of the guys that are guys of interest, big name guys that would that have voted Russell Westbrook for the first place: David Aldridge, Ken Pompey, Mike Wilbon, and Mike Wilbon is saying that he's going to vote Harden number 2. Who else was on here? I saw it. Royce Young, Ernie Johnson, Jalen Rose. So, I mean, it's the early votes or early results are in, but I mean, Russell with 29, James Harden is next with 11. So, I mean, as a fan, does that give you confidence? Or are you just like, man, it's not even half the votes are in yet, so I'm not going to get excited, a.k.a. Hillary Clinton 2016?
No, it gets me. It's exciting, and I think, I'm completely changed. I thought it was James Harden all the way, but now I'm thinking it's Russell Westbrook. I found the stats here so this is the last 5 minutes of the game when the margin was within 5 either way, up by 5 or down by 5. Russell Westbrook has 247 points on 44.6% shooting. James Harden has 150 points on 35.5% shooting. Let's see, free throws, Russell's at 85%, James Harden's only at 75. Let's see, 53 rebounds for Russ, 28 assists, 44 rebounds and 20 assists for James Harden. So you can see the numbers are greatly in favor of Westbrook. So when it's all said and done, James Harden is a -3 net rating in the final 5 minutes, and Russell Westbrook is a positive 21.7. And so I think when you look at going back to, does it get me excited that they have all those votes in his favor? I think that stat right there is ultimately what is swinging it, as far as also the hype behind these game-winning shots that he has been hitting.
Okay, so let me, I'm going to throw something out here at you, and then I'm going to ask you another question. But here's the thing. Total points, Russell Westbrook, 335 points in the MVP voting. James Harden, again, when you look at the whole scheme of things, not too far behind at 213. Here's what I would worry about as an Oklahoma City fan. Russell Westbrook is kind of like the Heisman voting sometimes. You get first place votes, but then those second place votes catch up. And that's where Kawhi Leonard, I'm going to talk about him in a second. That's where James Harden's kind of got a little bit of a thing going. Russell Westbrook only has 5 second place votes, where I keep saying Kawhi Leonard, where James Harden has 13. He's got 91 points just off the second place votes alone. It looks like with Westbrook first, I mean, here's the thing. And this is what drives me nuts. 29 first place votes, which is a decided victory. But then second place, 5, third place, 2. I mean, guys like Royce Young. That's what I want to talk about Kawhi Leonard. Royce Young has Kawhi Leonard number 1.
Was he really?
Not Royce Young. Sorry. Zach Lowe. Not our Zach Lowe, but Zach Lowe. The other Zach Lowe has Kawhi Leonard number 1. I've never heard of this guy. Kevin Arnolds, how you pronounce his name, has Kawhi Leonard number 1. How do you feel about? Because everyone's talking about this, and we've talked about Kawhi Leonard. But how do you feel about him sneaking in here? He's not going to be a factor. It looks like Russ or James Harden, but
he could still away some votes from Russ, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Share some thoughts on that.
Like I said, he's a different kind of MVP candidate. He doesn't have the numbers, but he definitely has. I mean, his team is performing well. He does what's necessary for the Spurs to get the win, and he also has the defensive presence that James Harden and Westbrook they don't have. So if I had a vote that counted, I would have him at number 3 behind, first of all, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and then Kawhi Leonard. But no, it's definitely interesting that he could still maybe not have a factor in winning, but he could definitely steal away some votes from either Harden or Westbrook.
Okay, so here's what Zach Lowe said. His top 5 in the voting is Kawhi Leonard number 1, James Harden number 2, Russell Westbrook number 3, and that's a trend that I think would bother me as an Oklahoma City fan, seeing that Russell Westbrook's either 1, 3rd, or 4th on these lists. But Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James 4, Steph Curry 5. Here's what he said. He said, ESPN.com, he said, Leonard is a system player. Westbrook, Harden, and LeBron are the systems. That's kind of true. Leonard doesn't touch the ball on some San Antonio possessions. He could not handle the creative burden on the offense the 2 leading candidates face every night. Leonard, in this regard, would be an unusual MVP. But then he says Westbrook will be too, given Oklahoma City's sub-50 win total, but that never bothered me, he says in parentheses. He averaged only 3.5 assists, again, back to Leonard. All of the perimeter players to win. Only Michael Jordan in 97-98 averaged so few, and Leonard isn't Michael Jordan. So, I mean, I don't get it. Based on what he just said, Leonard doesn't deserve the number 1 vote, but he put him there number 1.
And here's what I don't understand is he's got LeBron at 4. That's fair. LeBron's gonna be one of the best in the league until he retires. But Steph Curry at 5, I think this whole list is kind of out of order because how is Isaiah Thomas not in the talk there?
Well, that was going to be my other point.
Yeah.
As Isaiah Thomas is not anywhere in the talk here, which goes back to what I was saying is that this is a 2-man race, a 2-horse race, and I'm going to go ahead and say before I ask you the question, I'm surprised Isaiah Thomas has no recorded really legit votes here based off of what Boston's done. Everyone thought going into this season, you got the Warriors in the West, you got the Cavs in the East. And where San Antonio pushed Golden State, that's where I think you can start saying, you know what, Kawhi Leonard was the catalyst for pushing them. Boston didn't push Cleveland. Boston moved Cleveland out of the way.
Right.
And they're not doing that without Isaiah Thomas, but yet Isaiah Thomas has no vote here.
I kind of wonder if it's like, and I hate to bring this name up, but I kind of wonder if it's like Kevin Durant that year that, several people thought that he should have been more in the conversation, but he ultimately lost the MVP to LeBron, but it was kind of a guarantee that he was either going to win or be a top candidate the next season. And I kind of wonder if that's this year for Isaiah Thomas. He's been, a force to reckon with in the league for a couple years now, but I wonder if this is the first year for him, and then next year his name will be more so in the conversation.
Maybe so. Maybe so. I still feel like he should have. I just kind of feel like the West, outside of LeBron James, the West is overlooked, and LeBron James
You mean the East?
Yeah, sorry, the East. Yeah, the East is overlooked except for LeBron James, and the only reason LeBron James is mentioned is because he's LeBron James, right? All right, so do me a favor here. I know you're Oklahoma City Thunder, true and true, okay, but make an argument for a non-Russell Westbrook MVP. And we get silence.
Yeah, you have to go James Harden. When you look at the numbers he's put up, granted, no, I can't do that. That's going against the argument. But I mean, he does. He has great teammates around him. But what I will say is he utilizes those teammates. He doesn't. He finished second in scoring, I believe, behind Westbrook. But he doesn't always rely on himself for scoring. He trusts his teammates, gets them involved. He leads the league in assists with 11.2, I think. So, and they finished a top 3 team in the better conference in the West. And so, I think if you're gonna, like you've been saying the whole time, it's a 2-person race. If you're gonna go anyone besides Russell Westbrook, it's got to go to James Harden.
Okay, so here's my non-Russell Westbrook MVP argument. I agree, James Harden. If someone other than Westbrook's going to win it, it's going to be James Harden. And here's the reason why. If you remove Kawhi Leonard from San Antonio, they're not where they are. If you remove James Harden from Houston, they're not where they are. And if you remove Russell Westbrook from Oklahoma City, they're not where they are. You can say all 3 of these guys got their teams to their respective positions. But I think what you can't say about Oklahoma City and what you can say about San Antonio and Houston is that San Antonio and Houston are legitimate contenders. They are championship caliber contenders. I don't think you can say that about Oklahoma City yet. And so where you're looking at Russell Westbrook, yeah, he got the team into the playoffs, but really Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, they got their teams into contention. They're a top 3 seed, and they're gonna push one of those 2 teams. I believe will push Golden State. I don't know if they'll beat Golden State, but they'll push Golden State more so than any of the other 7 teams remaining in the West. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. I think it all comes down to how you look at the MVP, because Kawhi Leonard and James Harden both have better teams around them, and so it's just interesting. It's just different perspectives of how you look at it, and that's what nobody knows. No one knows what the set criteria is for voting for the MVP. Is it the best player in the league? Is it the guy who's producing the most stats? Is it what is it?
No, I agree, but I think you could also make the argument, and again, polar opposites. It's my job to be the opposite side of the fan position. I think you could also make the argument with Kawhi Leonard, and even more so James Harden. I think you can make the argument that he makes the guys around him even better. You know what I'm saying? Eric Gordon is really good on his own, but he's better with James Harden. Patrick Beverley, the guy that Oklahoma City fans love to hate on, he's an underrated point guard, but he's even better because of James Harden. I mean, even Ryan Anderson, Lou Williams, all those guys are better because of James Harden, and have James Harden literally switch positions from the shooting guard to that hybrid 1/2 guard. I think it kind of goes into consideration. Now, again, I'm just saying if somebody wins it other than Harden, these are the reasons why. So I'm making that case. And that's my job here, is to make that case, not to argue or not to bag. I think it's pretty cool that we've talked about all the history that Oklahoma City fans have seen this season. One of the historical things that I think gets overlooked in this season is, I mean, it's amazing what Russell did with the triple doubles. But I think one of the things that really gets overlooked is, when's the last time you've had 2 guys in the league have seasons what James Harden and Russell Westbrook have had? I mean, they're on their own. If you remove Russell Westbrook's season, hands down the MVP is James Harden. If you remove James Harden's season, hands down the MVP is Russell Westbrook. But now you got these 2 guys together, and not only are they going to battle it out in the votes for that MVP, but they're going to battle it out on the court to advance into the second round. So let's jump in. We're gonna close talking specifically about the Rockets and the Thunder, but just again from a fan perspective, how cool is it to you that you're going to see these 2 guys face each other in the first round?
I think it's very fitting. I mean, I saw a tweet the other day that said how crazy to think that, if Westbrook wins it this year and Harden doesn't, that Harden could possibly finish his career without winning an MVP, or vice versa. If Harden wins it, Westbrook could finish one without it. And because you still got Kawhi Leonard, Isaiah Thomas, LeBron's going to always be in the talk, and so Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and so it's just crazy that one of these guys could potentially end up without an MVP. But yeah, and I wish, and I've said before previous seasons that I wish MVP talks were finished up after the playoffs, because then you could see how these players play in the postseason. So I think it'd be kind of cool if, I know the voting is kind of closed at the end of the season, but wouldn't it be kind of cool if you could take this matchup and then pick your MVP based on the head to head in the playoffs? But
I think that would be bad for Russell Westbrook personally.
well, we'll talk about it when we talk about the matchup. But yeah, it's been a crazy season, and people are trying to. What I don't understand is people are trying to take away from what they're doing by saying, I don't even know how many Harden has now, but Westbrook's got 42 triple doubles. Triple doubles don't mean as much anymore. They're saying this or that, but I don't. Just because they're getting those, I don't understand how those are less valuable. And so yeah, it's just been a crazy season to watch.
Well, and again, we're about to jump into playoffs, but let me just respond. I think there's rightfully so a lot of attention about the triple doubles, but I also think rightfully so is the argument that they're not as valuable anymore because you see so many of them. I mean, you go back to you're way too young for this, but you remember the stories of Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and the home run derbies. That was incredible because you see someone's. I don't know if the microphone's going to pick it up, but we got weed eating going on outside. It's yard day. It's Friday, but that was an incredible run between those two guys because no one had ever seen that before.
Right.
But then after that, I mean, it's just like, big deal. We've seen home runs. And I kind of feel like that's where the triple-double is going. It's an incredible run this year because no one's ever seen it before. But I do feel like in subsequent years, oh, he got a triple-double? Okay, well, that's the norm now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, yeah, I feel you, but I mean, again, it's I don't think people understand like what it takes to get these triple doubles, and it is still just to try to make them not important. Or, LeBron got 10 this season. I think it's maybe not necessary that. I don't know. I think probably LeBron could have been averaging triple doubles if he wanted to, if you really get down to it. But I don't know, to say they're meaningless or not worth as much, I'm not sure. I mean, the Thunder are 33-9 whenever he gets a triple double. So I think that's pretty telling of how important they are.
Well, I think that's just a topic that time will tell. Let's jump in. Let's talk about the East first, because we can go all the way through the East without having to skip around anything. So, first round, Boston, the number 1 seed, versus Chicago. I think the Bulls are a mess right now. They've already had their fire sale. Oklahoma City got the advantage of that with Doug McDermott, Taj Gibson. I think there's a good chance we see Chicago get swept out of the playoffs in 4 games.
Swept? Yeah. I can see that happening, but I've got Boston in 5. But yeah, I can definitely see the sweep happening.
That series starts Sunday evening, 5:30 Oklahoma time. Cleveland versus the Pacers, number 2 versus number 7. I like Indiana. I think they can give Cleveland some fits here. I don't think they're going to beat Cleveland, but I also think there's being too much made of kind of the issues going on with Cleveland. I don't respect Tyronn Lue as much of a head coach as other people do. I think it's one of those situations where great players make a great coach. And then after, what's Eric Spoelstra done?
They almost made the playoffs. They barely missed it, but
the point
yeah,
is they went from winning championships to almost making the playoffs.
Yeah, but also, because I've kind of grown to like Spoelstra a little bit.
Oh, really?
They lost Chris Bosh, so if they have Bosh, is it different?
Yeah, maybe they're an 8 seed. Okay, so let's go. All right, Cleveland, Indiana. I've got the Pacers losing this game in 6.
I've got Cleveland in 5 because I'm the same way. I think a lot of these problems, quote unquote, that Cleveland has is hyped up by the media.
It's LeBron in the playoffs, and he's going to show up to play.
I realized I said Cleveland losing this game. I meant losing this. I mean Indiana losing this. I mean
Yeah,
the series. Okay, here's my first upset in the East. Milwaukee and Toronto, 3-6. Give me the Greek Freak and the Bucks taking this in 7.
Okay. Yeah, I like the Greek Freak, but I think Toronto, already a good team, made some improvements by picking up Serge Ibaka. I've got Toronto in 6.
Washington and Atlanta, 4-5. The Wizards, your boy Scotty Brooks. We still need to have that conversation at some
We
point.
do, yeah.
I don't know, man. I think this is a coin toss. Honestly, I'm going to go ahead and give the Wizards. I think this goes 6-7. I'm going to give Wizards the advantage just because they're the 4 seed and they'll have that home court. But Washington versus Atlanta, give me the Wizards. Give me the Wizards in 6 or 7.
I'm gonna go Wizards in 7. It's crazy what the turnaround that they've made, because if they would have started off the first 20 games the way they played the last 60, they could be a 2 or 3 seed in the East, I think.
So you're going Wizards in how many?
7.
Okay, so all right, so let's jump to the West now, and this is where we really want to talk for a second. Portland versus Golden State, number 1 versus number 8. Go ahead and talk about Damian Lillard. We had off-the-air conversation about Damian Lillard. Go ahead and talk about that for a second, and then give me your prediction here.
Yeah, Damian Lillard said that that Portland was going to win in 6, which I respect. I love the enthusiasm. I love the confidence. And I wouldn't be completely surprised if they won the series, or if they pulled out an upset. But I don't think it's going to happen. Golden State's got too much firepower. I've got the Warriors in 5.
Here's the problem that Portland's going to have. You remember the conversation we had earlier about Oklahoma City on the road and how they kind of seemed to fix that a little bit at the end of the season? Portland's terrible on the road. They're going to start this series on the road, and they're going to come back to Portland with an 0-2 deficit. They might pick up one game in 3 and 4, but then they got to go back to Golden State. They're going to lose. This series goes 5 max.
I agree with you.
So give me Portland. I'm gonna say Portland gets swept, and I gotta be honest with you. I got a little bit of bitterness here because Portland knocked my Clippers out last year. So okay, so let's go San Antonio, Memphis. I got some thoughts here, and I want to hear yours first.
My thoughts is that Memphis is a team that likes to. They want to body you up. They want to play tough on the inside. But I think with LaMarcus Aldridge, the Spurs are physical enough to handle that. And I think the Spurs also have the best bench in the entire NBA. Patty Mills is an excellent backup point guard. Pau Gasol as a backup center. So I think Memphis can possibly throw some problems their way, but also the Spurs have the best coach in the league too. So I've got the Spurs in 5.
Yes, I think it goes more than that. I think Memphis plays the ugliest brand of basketball in the NBA. They do. They're physical, like you said. They slow the pace down. I think Mike Conley is incredibly underrated as a point guard. Here's what happens, in my opinion. Here's what's going to happen. I feel like San Antonio is going to come out of this series in 6 or 7 games. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see it go 7, but I think San Antonio comes out of this series in 6 games, and they're run down.
Yeah.
And then they're going to play Houston or Oklahoma City in the next round, and they're going to go from Houston and Oklahoma City play the same brand of basketball. Run down the court, shoot it from anywhere. As soon as you cross half court, anything's open, right?
Yeah.
So San Antonio's going to have to go from this physical matchup to this run and gun matchup. I think it sets up for the Spurs to be upset in the second round.
Yeah, obviously, I would love that because if the Thunder can beat Houston. But yeah, I can definitely see that happening. I think the Spurs they've been one of the oldest teams, and they're still one of the older teams in the league, but they've got some younger, fresh legs underneath them now, and I think that's going to help them out.
All right, so my Clippers versus the Utah Jazz. You're on record saying you're going to cheer for the Clippers in this series.
I'm going to cheer for them. I will not be upset if they lose, though. It's not going to hurt me.
You and your stinking disclaimers. Clippers Jazz, I like this matchup for the Clippers. The Clippers they both had the exact same record in the season. Clippers get the 4 seed because of the tiebreakers of their head to head. I like the Clippers. I don't think it's a sweep. I think it's 6 games for the Clippers to come out of this, and then unfortunately there's going to be Golden State 10 rested and ready because they're going to sweep Portland. But I like the Clippers to get out of this first round in 6.
I'm gonna take the Clippers. I'm gonna take them in 7 because the Clippers. It's like I think they have something in their heads with the playoffs, man. They have an excellent regular season, and then they get to the playoffs, and it becomes I don't know what it is, but I think even that I think they're good enough to overcome that and win in 7.
Yeah, but here's the thing I got to say about the Clippers. Number one, they're healthy.
For now.
Well, yes, thank you for that. They're healthy, but number two, they're playing. I mean, they're entering into the playoffs playing probably the best basketball they've played all season long, and I like that about them. I'm a realistic fan, not a championship team that I see in this Clippers team. I think they can give Golden State some problems. I don't think they'll get swept by the Warriors, but I don't think they're a championship caliber team. But I like the way this team is playing going into the playoffs. They gotta stay healthy, and that has been the Achilles the last umpteen million years. It feels like that you get to the playoffs, and Blake Griffin's hurt, Chris Paul's hurt, DeAndre Jordan. I mean, that one game against Portland when it just kind of all went south, you lost all 3 of those guys.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think 6. You're saying 7, but I really like them to win this series, and I like them to give Golden State somewhat of a fight. I don't think they'll beat the Warriors. All right, so here we go. Rockets and Thunder. Give me your thoughts.
I'm gonna take the Thunder in 6, and here's why.
You're such a homer.
Wait,
in 6? In 6. Okay.
Listen. Because if it goes 7, there's no way.
So it
has to be 6. I said earlier, I think the Thunder will drop the first game. I think they'll win the second one. They're going to be greeted by 500 fans at the airport.
Are you gonna be one of them?
I'll probably be there. And then I like them to win 3 and 4 in Oklahoma City. Listen, hear me out.
I'm feeling
all right.
Dog. Let's do it.
So we know the triple-double situation.
Mm-hmm.
Thunder are 33-9 when Westbrook gets a triple-double. Do you know the only team in the NBA to not give up a triple-double this year? The Thunder. They are a top 10 team defensively, and I think that plays into allowing Westbrook to do what he does. And it's no doubt. I mean, Houston leads the league in 3. They beat Golden State's record for threes made in a single season. But I think they're a streaky team, and if the Thunder can get to them defensively with Andre Robertson defending the perimeter, I think they have a real shot, and I think that opens up the offense. And Depot's been shooting excellent from the outside lately. So has Alex Abrinas. Abrinas said that he beat James Harden's record for the most threes made by a rookie in Thunder history. And so they're gonna have to knock down those shots on the outside to keep up with the scoring. But I think that's something that can and will happen. And so I'm taking the Thunder in 6.
All right, so I'm just shocked. But I mean, again, you're the fan, so that's what you're supposed to do. The 2 things that really stand out to me in this series are perimeter shooting from the Rockets and perimeter defense from the Thunder. The strength of this Houston team is perimeter shooting. The downfall, the weakness of this Oklahoma City defense is perimeter defense. That said, Houston, everyone knows you go into playoffs and everything's amped up, right? The question is, can night in and night out in playoff basketball, can Houston shoot? Can they remain hot from 3-point? And if they can't, they run into some troubles. And I think that's what's going to give Oklahoma City a chance in this series. I think games 3 and games 4 are crucial. Oklahoma City has to win those first 2 home games. You're talking about a split, split in the first 2 games in Houston. Even if Oklahoma City drops both of those games in Houston, you got to win 3 and 4. If you win 3 and 4, you go back to Houston and it's a 3-game series instead of a 7-game series. 3 and 4 is going to tell the story. If you lose one of those two games as a Thunder fan or as a team, you're done. I really believe there's no coming back from losing game 3 or game 4. So I don't really look at games 1 and 2 as much as I look at games 3 and 4. And I think that's going to tell the story. How will this team respond being even, being up, or being tied when they play game 3? How are they going to respond to that? You win game 3, you got a shot. You win game 4, I think you have the advantage all of a sudden because you're going to go back to Houston on a 2-game winning streak if you win 3 and 4. Again, even if you drop the first 2, you win 3 and 4, you're going back with all the confidence, and Houston's going back scratching their heads saying, we got to figure something out. That said, I think the Rockets take it in 6.
Rockets in 6?
Rockets in 6.
That's fair. But what you were just saying is exactly my point with them being a streaky team from the 3. Yeah, they beat Golden State's record, but it's not because they were shooting more efficiently. It's because they shot like 300 more attempts than Golden State did that season. So I think exactly what you're talking about with the atmosphere in the playoffs, the hype around it. The question is, can they continue to be efficient from beyond the arc? And if they're not, will the Thunder be able to capitalize on that?
Right, and I'm gonna answer the question before I throw it to you. But I think when you look at particularly in the West, but when you look at all 16 teams in the playoffs, I feel like the one team that is primed to be upset is Houston, based solely on the way they play basketball. Neither one of these teams are great at defense, but Houston's worse at defense than Oklahoma City is. And when you're relying as heavily on perimeter shooting as Houston does, I think that makes you poised for an upset. And if there's a team that could do it, you got the player in Russell Westbrook that could lead that charge. So I'm picking Houston, but I think of the 16 teams in the playoffs, also Houston's my team right there that I say, hey, they're primed for a first round upset. Even though I know I picked Milwaukee to beat Toronto, but I think those two teams are pretty even. No one's looking at either one of those teams as a contender. Houston is they're looking at in the West as Houston as a contender. I think of the contenders, Houston's at one that's there that says that's just ready for someone to upset them.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I like you're saying. Earlier James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, they have their teams ready for a playoff run. You're saying they're a championship quality team, but while the Thunder aren't there, I think I like their chances if the deeper that they can get into this thing. If they can squeak out a first round win against Houston, they have San Antonio second round. Mm-hmm. We've beat San Antonio 3 times this season, two for sure, maybe 3. So I like the chances, especially with the best player in the world on their team. I like their chances if they can make it out.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Whoever wins this first round between the Rockets and the Thunder is going to beat San Antonio. I'm throwing that out there because, like I said, I think that Memphis. I wouldn't want to play Memphis in the first round because they're not going to beat you in the series, but they're going to beat you up.
Right.
And so the best thing for San Antonio would be to sweep that series. I don't see it happening. I think that just because of change and style of play, whoever wins this series upsets San Antonio second round.
Which, yeah, and how awesome, they're not going to win, but how awesome would it be to have a matchup against Golden State in the Western Conference Finals? Like I said, I would not pick them to win that series, but having a guaranteed 2 games here in Oklahoma City against them would just be
with Kevin Durant back.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
All right, well, he's Craig. Thunder Guys, tell them where they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, we're Twitter and Instagram, the Thunder Guys.
Yeah, check us out.
All right, the HeartlandSports.com, Heartland_sports.com for our website. Pre-game, post-game thoughts are put up there every day, every game day. Thanks for listening. Make sure you join the conversation. Drop a comment or two either on our YouTube page or on HeartlandSports.com. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter.
When I wake up, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. And when I go out, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. And if I get drunk,